What if your cat has been trying to tell you something is wrong? Not for days, but for weeks, and you completely missed it. Not because you don't pay attention, not because you don't care, but because the signals were so quiet, so easy to explain away, so woven into the ordinary texture of daily life that they looked exactly like nothing. A slightly different sleeping spot, a food bowl left a little fuller than usual, a change in the way your cat looked at you when you walked through the door. And then one day, you noticed something you couldn't explain away. Something that sent you to the vet, and the vet told you something that made the previous 3 weeks replay in your mind like a film you were watching for the second time, suddenly seeing everything you missed the first time through. This happens to cat owners every single day, all over the world, with cats that were loved completely and watched carefully and cared for with total sincerity, and it happens because of something specific about cats that most owners understand intellectually but have never truly reckoned with in practical terms. But here's the thing, the signals were always there. They are always there, and once you know exactly what to look for, once you understand why your cat hides what it feels and how it communicates what it cannot hide, you will never miss them again. Stay with me, because the most important part of this story is not about illness. It is about something much deeper, about the nature of your cat's inner world, and the extraordinary way it speaks to you even when every instinct it has is telling it to stay silent. Let's start with a truth about cats that changes everything else in this story. Cats are prey animals as much as they are predators. This surprises people. We think of them as hunters, and they are, magnificently so. But in the broader ecosystem that shaped them over millions of years, cats were also hunted by larger felids, by birds of prey, by the whole hierarchy of creatures that saw a small, solitary animal as an opportunity. And in that world, the world that wrote the operating instructions still running inside your cat today, showing weakness was one of the most dangerous things a small animal could do. A limping cat, a lethargic cat, a cat that moved differently, ate less, held itself with less certainty than usual. These were the cats that attracted attention. The wrong kind of attention, the kind that ended badly. So evolution did what? Evolution always does. It selected over and over across countless generations for the cats that hid their weakness most effectively. The cats whose pain tolerance allowed them to move normally even when movement hurt. The cats whose stoicism was so deeply encoded that it operated automatically below the level of conscious decision. The cats that could be genuinely, seriously ill and still appear, to any casual observer, completely fine. Those are the cats that survived long enough to become your cat. What most owners don't realize is that when their cat seems perfectly okay, that information is almost completely unreliable as a health indicator. Your cat's body has been optimized over millions of years of evolutionary pressure to look okay even when it isn't. The stoicism you sometimes admire, the self-sufficiency, the composure, the unruffled dignity your cat maintains through what seems like anything is in part a survival mask. Beautiful, ancient, and potentially, if you don't know how to look behind it, heartbreaking. So if the obvious signals are hidden, what does actually change? What are the quiet, early signs that something in your cat's world has shifted? The ones that appear weeks before anything dramatic? The ones that are always there if you know where to look? This is where the story becomes something every cat owner needs to hear. Think about your cat's relationship with its own routine. Cats are creatures of profound habit. Their days follow patterns so consistent that most owners could set a clock by them. The morning spot by the window, the afternoon nap on the second shelf, the particular corner of the couch claimed for the hours just before dinner, the way it greets you when you come home, where it appears from, how quickly it moves toward you, whether it vocalizes, and how. These routines are not arbitrary. They are the external expression of a cat's internal sense of safety and well-being, when everything inside is functioning as it should, when the cat feels well, feels safe, feels at ease in its own body. The routines hold. They repeat. They have the comfortable, reliable quality of a heartbeat. And when something changes inside the cat, when pain begins, or nausea, or the slow creep of a systemic illness, the routines are often the first thing to shift. Before the obvious symptoms, before the vet visit, before anything your eye would immediately flag as wrong. The morning window spot, abandoned. The greeting at the door, delayed or skipped. The spot on the couch, relocated to somewhere lower, somewhere easier to reach without jumping. The food bowl, approached and then left. The water bowl, visited more often than usual or less. These are not random variations, they are data. Quiet, consistent, utterly reliable data about what is happening inside the body you cannot see. Something deeper is happening in these small behavioral shifts than a cat simply being in a different mood. Your cat's behavior is the window into its physiology. And the window, if you know how to read it, is always open. Let's talk about something specific, something so common that it is estimated to affect the majority of cats over 10 years of age, and yet so consistently missed in its early stages that most owners only discover it when it has already progressed significantly. Cats are masterful at concealing pain. This is the most important practical thing that comes out of understanding their evolutionary history. Not just emotional distress, physical pain, the kind that, in a human being, would be immediately visible in the face, in the posture, in every movement and vocalization. Researchers studying feline pain assessment have had to develop entirely new frameworks for identifying pain in cats because the conventional signs, whimpering, crying, obvious guarding of an injured area, appear far later in cats than in almost any other species. What appears earlier in the weeks before those obvious signs is something far subtler. A cat in early or moderate pain tends to move less, not dramatically less, just slightly. It may choose the floor over the cat tree. It may stop jumping to the counter it used to love. It may spend more time in a single location rather than moving through the house in its usual daily circuit. It may groom itself less thoroughly or focus its grooming on one area more than others. It may sit in slightly different positions than it used to, positions that, without knowing what to compare them to, seem completely normal. And here is the part that tends to hit owners hardest when they finally understand it. Their cat may still purr, it may still come when called, it may still seek them out in the evenings and settle beside them with every appearance of contentment, because the bond is real and the love is real, and even a cat in pain will reach for the comfort of its person. The purr, the closeness, the apparent ease, none of these rule out that something is wrong. They simply tell you that your cat still loves you, even now, even through whatever it is carrying. What most owners don't realize is that a cat can be in significant discomfort and still appear, in every emotional way, completely present and connected. The body and the bond are two separate things, and the body was built to hide what it feels long before the bond ever wavers. And this is where it gets interesting, because the warning signs your cat sends are not only physical, there is an emotional layer to this story that is just as important and just as easy to miss. Cats that are unwell or that are experiencing sustained stress, anxiety, or fear often show changes in their social behavior long before they show changes in their physical presentation. The cat that used to initiate contact begins to wait to be approached. The cat that used to sleep in the bed moves to the floor or to a closet or to a quiet corner that didn't used to interest it. The cat that used to vocalize, and that particular meow it reserved specifically for you, the one you could tell apart from all the others, goes quieter. These shifts in social and emotional expression are your cat's most honest communication, more honest in some ways than its physical presentation, because the social signals are harder for the stoic mask to fully conceal. Research into feline stress and illness has found consistent patterns in these behavioral changes across different cats and different underlying conditions. Withdrawal from social interaction, reduction in play behavior, decreased responsiveness to familiar stimuli, the toys it used to love, the window it used to patrol, the sounds that used to bring it running, a general quality of quietness that is not quite peace, a stillness that feels different from the cat's ordinary comfortable stillness, harder to articulate, but unmistakable once you have been shown what to look for. Your cat's emotional withdrawal is its most vulnerable. Communication. It is the signal that costs it the most to send, because connection is the thing it values most, and pulling back from connection, even slightly, goes against everything its bond with you represents. When a cat begins to withdraw from the person it loves, something in its world has become difficult enough that it can no longer fully maintain the ordinary pattern of that love. That is not nothing. That is a signal that deserves to be received with complete seriousness. Now let's talk about what you can actually do with all of this. Because this story is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to arm you, to give you the specific practical knowledge that transforms you from someone who might miss the signals into someone who catches them early. When early still makes all the difference, the single most powerful thing you can do is establish a baseline, a detailed, specific, remembered picture of what your cat looks like when it is completely well, not a general impression, specific knowledge, where it sleeps and in what position, how it holds its tail when it walks, how much it eats and how eagerly, how much it drinks, how it grooms, and where and for how long, how it greets you, and what sounds it makes, and where in the house it appears from. Write it down if you need to. Take videos. Build a mental portrait so precise that when something in that portrait shifts, even slightly, even in a way you cannot immediately name, you feel it. The way you would feel a change in the rhythm of music you know by heart. Because that feeling, that quiet nagging sense that something is different even when everything appears okay, is your most reliable early warning system. More reliable than waiting for obvious symptoms. More reliable than the annual vet visit as your only checkpoint. It is the accumulated, intimate knowledge of a being you love, speaking to you in its own quiet language. And this is where it gets interesting. Because the owners who catch things early, the ones whose cats get diagnoses at stage 1 rather than stage 3, the ones whose vets tell them that the early detection made all the difference, are almost never the owners who knew the most about feline medicine. They are the owners who knew the most about their specific cat, the ones who paid attention to the particular, not just the general, the ones who built such a detailed knowledge of who their cat was when it was well that any deviation from that picture became immediately, viscerally apparent. Attention is the most powerful medical tool you have, and love, as it turns out, is what makes you capable of paying that quality of attention to another being. There's one more thing I want to tell you before this story ends, because I think it matters more than all the practical information that came before it. Your cat knows when something is wrong. It knows before you do, and in the weeks and months when something is quietly developing, when the body is changing in ways that haven't yet surfaced into obvious symptoms, your cat is navigating that experience entirely alone. In silence, with the ancient stoic patience of an animal built to never show the world what it is carrying. And still, through all of that, through the pain or the discomfort or the slow, unnamed wrongness in its body, it comes to find you in the evenings. It settles beside you. It puts the weight of its small body against yours and closes its eyes and breathes. Because you are still its safe place. You are still the one thing in its world that its body knows, completely and without reservation, is good, and whatever it is carrying, it is not carrying it away from you. It is carrying it here to this, to the warmth and the familiar scent and the particular rhythm of you breathing in the dark. Your cat cannot tell you when something is wrong in the way you might wish it could. It cannot come to you and say, something hurts, something has changed, I need you to look more carefully than you have been looking. But it has been telling you. In every way it knows how, in the shifted routine and the quieter morning, and the slightly different way it holds itself when it sits. In the small behavioral notes that play differently than they did before, for anyone listening closely enough to hear them, now you are listening closely enough, now you will hear them, and that, the simple profound act of truly paying attention, may be the most important thing you ever do for the creature that loves you without condition and asks for almost nothing in return except this: to be seen, to be known, to have someone in its world who cares enough to notice when something has changed. Be that person. You already love it enough. Now you know how to show it. If this story changed the way you watch and listen to your cat, share it with every cat owner who needs to hear it. And if you want to keep learning how to truly understand your cat at every level, stay right here. There is always more to discover.